Hey, how you guys doing? I'm making a video because it's something to do. I've made so many videos. Kind of like who started is like you keep going and progressively going because there's no sports. There's no baseball teams for adults. There's nothing for adults to really do together. I mean, because uh, they let other athletes control everything, just like the government and landlords. We have become so uh, female progressed and with strong sensations of male aggression in the world still. And we tell people where they can go and order people around like we are entitled to do that. I don't know where some people can get off by saying, I own this. Communism works perfect. If you learn about it, and what I have little I've learned, the government owns all the land. That's kind of what they do over here. They own all the land, and so you finish paying your mortgage to keep paying them taxes. At least one check a year, I heard. I didn't when I had mortgage, was paying mortgage. I didn't get there. The house went into default, and some, you know, um, loss happened with my father, and there's just a lot of stuff that was unexpected, and didn't see that happening in my life. And then my girlfriend at the time left too. But I'm finding out women, they're not really looking for companionship in their 40s. If you see all these commercials, we're not good enough in our 40s to please a woman. And that's just because we're way out of practice, and we have to work constantly. And women kind of take the easy road. They don't really work manual labor jobs like us. They ain't building houses. So when you guys complain about there's no rent cap anywhere, we'll start building houses. There'll be no rent cap because, you know, no one works hard enough in America. We all feel entitled to tell people where they're wrong, where they're going wrong, what they're doing wrong. Who do you think you guys are? I mean, I want to help people, but I don't want to get to know people like, their investment, case planning, their surgery that they had previous, their concerns with uh, coronavirus and all these other cases of cancer and AIDS and HIV. Honestly, that shit's fake. It's fake. It's to kill a whole bunch of black people in Africa because all they do is want to fuck. They have been bred to do this. They give them TV and a bag lunch. When you're bred to do that, that's why they don't get a lot of respect today. White people and other people, like I guess Egyptians too. We have bred black people to you know take some kind of satisfaction in sex. Why white people were making inventions and coming up with electricity and making candles and reading books and being authors and building vehicles and cars and different kinds of engines. Why do white people have to do all that? Why couldn't we just, have some fun in our life? I guess, Jack and Jill went up the hill, and Jack got bored and left that pail, and I guess he eventually left Jill too. I can't remember. Why don't we actually remember these old stories? Uh, Jim and the Beanstalk. I recently came across these old, kids fairy tales or lullabies, or they're based on some kind of true facts. But that's how we actually you know, got along. Is old man down the street had a lot of stories. He was a great storyteller. He was an entertainer. We had entertainers like Sammy Davis Jr. We had dancing. We had Jerry Gleason. We had different type of comics. Goofier ones. Then we had like the commanding center attention role, masculine male actors, and they all told stories. You read a script, you learn something, but the thing about reading is you get more confidence as you do it more. You find yourself picking up different personalities from reading more books. So when you're a dull person and you're just trying to, find some kind of a personality, especially when you're a kid, you are searching for identity. And it's kind of hard, when your parents really don't, you know, uh, they don't, care for the identity that they see in you. They almost see you as going to school, getting a job, getting out of their damn life. Great, mom, dad, you had me. Throw me in the line of fire to work, and 18, I'm out the door, and you're done. Yeah, if we thought about having kids in a way of, treating people correctly, why do we have kids? And then they make it illegal for abortions, and we had quite a mess of, well, it seemed like 3 or 4 years just talking about abortions to distract ourselves from global warming. You know how you fix global warming? You take all the hot air and you send it to the moon. You send it along the rockets of SpaceX, and get Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all the rich people together, and you start sending these young kids working on space suction devices that suck all this hot air. And I heard this and I read this on AI. They're putting hot air. They're gonna do this idea and for global warming, and send the hot air to Earth, to underground to a mountain. That's stupid. We can own air fryer restaurants. Turn McDonald's into an air fryer restaurant. Send all this hot air to restaurants. We can use this hot air that we are disintegrating with and melting the North and South Pole and all these glaciers that they say are melting, but you don't really see that when you go to the beach. But how do we know what center of what line started where? We only see it bad when a hurricane comes and we know that we're gonna die and lose our house, and then we don't have no help from assistance from the government. And if they do, that FEMA has those trailers to stay in, but we don't even have we pay for all those years for insurance, and they can't even you know give us that insurance money when the house is you know bulldozed down and from a hurricane, or flooded from water from a hurricane, or a sinkhole happens, a tornado happens, a car hits it. you know Insurance should work on everything. Don't go half-assed with fucking shit just to benefit your company. If I'm paying into something for however long, it needs to be for a sure thing. It needs be no half stepping in what all I'm insured over. It's such a gamble to make a company like that. Because it doesn't make no sense. Some of the jobs that we can just have a job like Johnny Appleseed, planting seeds and trying to make people feel good. What happened to like comic uh, houses being, prevalent in the neighborhood? Oh, the same thing where we don't have baseball games for ages 35 to 40 for gentlemen. We don't have a baseball field near any area that's close to me because people watch baseball, but they don't play baseball. There's basketball courts everywhere. Tennis rings, you don't see baseball. Maybe I'm just overthinking baseball or just overthinking active sports that people could play and get along and understand why people are who they are and have a community. Where's community if you don't have sports? Where's the community if there's no talking at the grocery store? Where's a community when you can't get a copy of the Constitution in your hometown library? Where is community when you don't even know where um the office for Bob Dylan said it in a song. He said uh, you don't even know these politicians making up policy. There's no uh, uh, con- constitution right that we have not to have our constitution in hand given to us a copy. They shouldn't be selling the constitution back to us. They should be reading that off every chance they get on the news instead of hiding those facts from us and hiding those rules. And they shouldn't be reworded. They shouldn't be changed, especially that Fourth Amendment. They can't go inside your pockets. They can ask you, you say no, they can't go. There's a lot in there that basically give you your right to not work. If you read far enough into the Constitution, you do not have to have a place to live. But I'm going to shut up because every day they're rewording the Constitution because they're never going to give you a copy. They're never going to give you a copy of the Constitution because it's got changed since 1779. And George Washington and Benjamin Franklin and uh, John Adams will be rolling over because when they established that Constitution, they sealed it. You can only change the world one time. But what do I know? The world gets changed so seldomly and so oftenly, it goes right over your head. You wouldn't even know the world is changing until it landed on your lap. And that's what people don't go looking for. They only wait till the problem happens to them. They don't go looking for trouble. I mean, like not looking for trouble, making sure that nothing's gonna happen to the house, nothing's gonna happen to the family, making sure that their health is okay. But who do you really believe? Your stomach, your esophagus, your heart, your head, or do you believe a doctor telling you you have to go through chemotherapy because if you don't, you're gonna die? Now, there's kind of like when you have cancer, you should be able to think about it. Do I even want to do anything about it? I just live with it and die. I'm gonna live longer just living with the cancer. It's not contagious. So why are we, so concerned about cancer? Why is everybody like, in a way, forcing you to die early? No one wants to live miserable, you know, by themselves. But when you learn to challenge yourself and accept your pain, as you become the authority of your pain. You know your pain more than anybody else in the world. So I live with my pain. I'm gonna take my pain out on me and nobody else and become a modern day citizen. If you're not proud of it, I don't care. Some days I'm proud of myself, some days I'm not, but I don't ever feel bad about myself. And I love myself a lot more than I did like at, 15, 16 when I'm going through, middle school to high school and, finding all my new friends. Now I don't have to keep on searching for my new friends. I can meet anybody I want, but I always see people looking for depression, and I can't stand being around aggressive people. I don't want to be around somebody that is aggressive. I'd rather be around somebody that's ambitious, that wants to do stuff. I could have been the center of the movement on landlords. So when you think about communism in China and Russia, just know that it's not a lot difference. It's actually different. They get treated probably a lot better than what we get treated over here in America. We're just programmed to look at communism and come up with all these bad thoughts about it, not ever getting a chance to experience it or see what it's like living under those sets of rules and regulations. But our government don't go around changing things. It actually takes bribes to keep things worse for poor people. And why would you want to go mess with poor people or disadvantaged people or people with disabilities? I mean, it's kind of like the bully or the bully at school. He always picks on the kid that is shorter or let don't look tough. That's what they do. They aggravate, intimidate, insinuate, and are compelled to pick on the poor. They don't promote us to do good or teach us humility. They don't teach that in school. All right, you guys, keep it real and try to think outside of the box.